Are you feeling lost in a digital wilderness? Welcome to Lost in Siberia. We are your guide to navigating the world of cyberspace.
So whether you're a tech enthusiast or you're looking to land your first job in InfoSec, we're here to break things down into bite-sized pieces so that you don't have to. All right, well, welcome back to another episode of Lost in Siberia. We're your hosts, Annie May.
And Annika.
And today we have a special guest on the show today. We've got Kersti Eesmaa. So welcome to the show, Kersti.
Thank you so much, and well done on the pronunciation. People are often worried how to pronounce my name. Well done.
Yeah, I was in about, but then I didn't think about it, so then it was actually easier.
Yeah.
Well done.
Do you want to quickly tell us a little bit about yourself for anyone who might not know?
Yeah. So the name probably tells everybody that I'm not Australian, and probably by this stage the accent as well. So I am Estonian, and I was 30 years an Estonian diplomat. So I joined the Foreign Services of Estonia, I would say 2 weeks after I graduated university. So straight after university, I decided to become a diplomat. My last job as a diplomat was to be ambassador here in Canberra. So I was the ambassador for Estonia for 5 years, finished that one up, decided to leave my diplomatic career. So I'm a love refugee, as I love to call myself. And now, love refugee.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And now started a whole new life here in Australia.
Very nice.
As somebody who was an Australian and now is an Australian, I can definitely resonate.
Yeah,
it's a brave move. And
I think a lot of people use the word brave. I think it's sometimes when they tell me, oh, you're so brave, you made this huge change, I'm like, brave or either stupid. Maybe that's what they're thinking.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy the transition to a totally new career, a new country. Starting a new career at 51 is a big decision and a big step.
So before we started recording, we were actually just talking about how you have a very unique voice.
Mm-hmm.
And you were telling us a story about why you sound the way that you do. So do you mind telling everyone else?
Yeah, absolutely. So often when people first meet me, they think maybe I have cold or something.
Yeah.
I don't. So when I was 8 years old, I became suddenly totally paralyzed and was in a hospital for a year and a half before they actually found out what's wrong with me. And during that time, I wasn't able to breathe, so I had a breathing machine. And that destroyed my vocal cords, or damaged, let's call them. And then I think when I was a teenager, I was always very conscious about my voice. And we tried to look into whether it can be fixed. And they said maybe, but risks associated. But now I think I've learned to own it. And I do a lot of public speaking, and it's almost become my trademark. So I guess when I start to talk, people are like, oh, okay, we should better listen because that sounds different. Plus the accent. So there's a couple of unique elements there.
I think for me, migrating to Australia, an accent became such an interesting thing because I was trying to mimic Australians so much that I would say no, like this, very, very, very long. And I was quite self-conscious as well, living in different countries. And then people came to me and they said, oh, you have such a unique voice and such a unique accent. And you go, well, what's the point of hiding it? And
I can't.
Yeah,
I just have it.
Yes, and I heard you speak. Obviously, you do quite a lot of public speaking, and it is a pleasure listening to you. And you are a tremendous public speaker.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I really enjoyed your moderating session at Osaka last week because I found it really funny because you're a very blunt person, which I appreciate because I think I'm quite a blunt person too, so I appreciate it. But I found it really funny when you were asking the Japanese diplomat a question, and I can't remember what he said initially, but it was something like, oh, that's a really interesting question or something, and then you said, oh, he's stalling. Because, it was like,
I asked whether the UN has failed on cyber. It is a tough question as a diplomat to answer whether the UN has failed as far as cyber is concerned. So, but I had pre-warned them that this question is coming. So
so it wasn't like they weren't prepared.
But it was my first time to moderate, and it's definitely very different from like a keynote. So but I enjoyed it. So maybe it will happen again.
Yeah, so I know you wanted to talk about the cyber reserves that has been in the news a bit this year and is something that's I believe is being planned for next year. Is that right, to kick off?
Well, there's a bit of a story there, I mean, in the background. And when you say cyber reserve, I just get instantly excited about this whole thing. It all started, and as every good story, I have to go a little bit back in time. It all started when I was still ambassador. And I was talking a lot on cyber to Australian partners, both government and industry. And often I was asked the question like, why is Estonia so good in cyber? Like that was often. And obviously it's a longer story why, but one of the reasons was that we have a national resilience there. And this part of that is that we have had cyber defense reserve for 15 years and cyber civilian reserve now for about 3 or 4 years. So this became a topic, and I always, whenever I spoke about Estonia and cyber resilience, this was part of the conversation. And funnily enough, so where I work now, which is Vertical Scope Group, was a sponsor for something I did, the Cyber Battle Australia, a CTF for TAFE students. And David Jam, who is the owner, we started to talk about that 2 or 3 years ago. And he told me like, we should do it in Australia. And I was like, yes, you should. And we should find an organization or government, or we should convince somebody. But we always had that conversation that we need this. And then when I joined the company, we went back to that conversation, like, who could do it? And I remember David telling me, like, we could do it. And me being in the government for 30 years, I said, no, SME, like us, obviously we are in the workforce solutions and training and all of that, and cleared recruitment. But I said, this is not the job for SME. And he said, why not? And then we started to talk to people. And then ADF also came forward with the Defence Cyber Reserve Initiative. And then this was another sign that maybe now is the time is ripe. And we started to talk to government, to industry, and we decided to go forward with it. So it's super unique. I don't think in any other country in the world this has been done by an SME as an initiative. So, but Australia is known for its unique approaches.
For anyone who's listening who might not know, like, what is the cyber reserve?
It depends on a country, but normally it can be either defense reserve that is dedicated specifically for cyber, and again, countries are different what the reserve service looks like. But it's basically the idea behind it that somebody who works in industry goes and serves the country as a reservist for a certain period of time, specifically on cyber. And that's for defense side. And what is unique in cyber, when you think of reservists, normally reservists are not as knowledgeable as the real service, while in cyber, the industry might bring knowledge that doesn't exist maybe in the ADF. So that's for the defense side. And the civilian side is pretty similar, but is even broader in the sense that not everybody wants to be in the uniform. That's number one. And it's quite regulated, the whole reserve. And so it's in the countries where it does exist, including in Estonia, it's that additional way of, I work in a company A, but I want to do my community service. Australians often go lifeguarding at the beaches or fire, what you call it, the fire.
Yeah, like the what's it called?
Like rural fire service.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And it's such a big part of Australian society.
Yeah.
So if you work in cyber, why couldn't you do that community service in cyber for somebody who is either in trouble or needs extra help? And so that's the idea behind it.
And how does one become a civilian or a defense cyber reservist?
Again, 2 different pathways. And I don't want to talk too much for the defense, because what defense is looking now at the moment is to become a reservist defense it's quite a journey. Yeah. I mean, for medical and training and everything. So what they are looking into, and I don't want to talk for them, but they are looking, is there an easier entryway for the cyber? It's a big cultural challenge for defense as well, or cultural change, but that's what they're looking into. And then all the usual defense reserve elements would kick in, like how you have a leave and all of that. When it comes to cyber civilian reserve, we don't have those answers yet because all of this needs to be worked out. Currently, we have announced the advisory board. We're trying to get everybody in the industry and government work together. We are talking a lot to the government. Even if there's a way in, like let's say I say, Monica, do you want to be in a reserve? You put in your application. What do you do?
I do a little bit of that, I do a little bit of this.
But that's a bigger
Yeah,
question.
exactly.
When you are a
Yeah.
reserve member, what's the purpose of that reserve?
Yeah.
And that sort of determines what is the way in, almost more than anything else. Will they have only training? Will they be deployable in some cases? So a lot of questions there that needs to be answered before it gets live and running, but we are so determined that we are doing this.
Yeah, I think it's interesting 'cause someone actually asked me this earlier this year if I would consider joining. And I thought about it, and my initial response was, well, I don't deal well with authority. And I know obviously defence is very hierarchical.
Did they
and-
ask you to consider the Defence Cyber Reserve?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, because I was thinking, I'm like, well, I don't think I'll do very well in defence.
And for people like you, I mean, the civilian side might be exactly it.
Yeah.
If you are the kind of person who wants to, give back to the community. And interestingly enough, when I looked into that experience from Estonia, then obviously it's a surge capacity. That's really good for the government and critical infrastructure. But more importantly so, it becomes a community on its own that learns from each other. And it's not only industry, it can be public servants.
Yeah.
It can be defense people, just on the different hat. So it can be academia, bringing their knowledge and experience in. And we are super open in the sense it can be marketing, it can be anything. It doesn't need to be even like a cyber,
Yeah.
because cyber is not limited to technical skills. So it's become this network where if you do an exercise together, you learn from each other, you become close as people. When you are deployed as a surge capacity, then you become really close.
Yeah.
Because then it's the actual crisis you're trying to solve. So there's certain elements on it which just, I think, make sense.
I think what's very interesting as well, because definitely we have needs that are outside of Australia, right? And so we need to defend Australia from foreign entities. But also there are quite a lot of internal needs in Australia when it comes to both cyber capability, but also who we can help. We talk quite a lot about elderly communities. Neurodivergent people are very prone to cyber attacks and so on. Children and parents of children that are asking the questions, and it's very hard to give the right answers to. And the civilian reserves can really be deployed for that specifically. And identifying this need is also quite the challenge, isn't it?
There is a risk, and you a little bit went into that risk area, that you can start to think, I can solve all the problems in the world, from kindergarten to senior people who get phone scams. So what we decided, at least at the start, we keep the scope quite narrow, because otherwise it becomes this Christmas tree, I think that's the saying, that we never get to it. So we really sort of looked at the first priority is training, and really training in the sense of live fire exercises, for example. That is definitely something that is lacking. It's not easy to organize yourself, but if somebody organizes it for you, you go and take part and you learn new things. And other training as well. It can be threat hunting, or it can be anything on the training side, or learning some new tools. So that's one thing. The second thing where we look at is really the deployment. Ideally for critical infrastructure, but there are so many questions. I could give you the list of 2 pages of questions: liabilities, regulation, payment, insurance. It's a long list. We have currently kept the scope at that, but whenever we talk to people, There's so many different areas it could do with the awareness, with the schools, with the local councils, even scouts, elderly people, etc. You could grow this into whatever you can dream
monster.
of. Monster sounds negative,
Yeah.
but it can. But we decided, keep it simple.
Yeah.
So in the
Trying to
sense
keep the
of
scope clear.
keep the scope clear in the beginning,
Yeah.
deliver, because we really want to deliver something within a year. Because let's say both of you are members. You get really excited. I'm a member of Australian Cyber Civilian Reserve. You don't want to just sit there. You want to do something, or you want to be invited to somewhere, or you want to be part of that community. So there's no point of just creating a group of people and them just going like, okay, that was fun.
Yeah, and then dropping out after
Exactly.
because
Yeah.
nothing happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we really go in those baby steps, and scope is I would say even maybe narrower, like a live fire exercise. I think exciting for everybody who's ever done a live fire. Such a different experience than tabletop or CTF or anything like that. And then really starting to have this conversation with government, with industry, on the surge capacity, on the deployment element of it. We'll see.
So I'm thinking, and I don't know, maybe this is completely out of concept, but it's like having first aid officers in your office. You can have cyber first aid officers or cyber officers in your industry, in your offices, in your company, cyber champions that could potentially be someone who is a part of cyber reserve, and then they're there in case of a emergency, in case something happens.
Yeah.
And then that does make it interesting because, well, I used to be a first aid officer. I just remembered because I got an email saying, oh, you need to do a training again. And I took quite a lot of pride in it, and people do. And especially sometimes you have also like, from fire perspective, right, you have emergency officers as well.
Yeah,
and
first
your
mental health
officers as well. And even if you can't engage them all the time, they're there in case something happens, and there is so much pride in, I have done the training, because the training is the element right now that we are focusing on. And then having these people even stationed, even in the industry, even in the offices, in the community theatre somewhere, do we have a cyber first aid officer present?
I love the concept.
I'm just imagining someone with like a firewood.
Yeah, I know.
Like a cyber.
Like a cyber?
It's just like a black hat with I don't know, like a skull and crossbones or something on it.
Again, baby steps. But I love the concept, and I think compared to, maybe I'm a little bit not polite to my own country, but I think compared to Estonia, or maybe even Eastern Europe, we don't have that culture of community service. We have more the culture like, I do things for money. We obviously do have a third sector, and there's a lot of people, but as a country, we don't necessarily have it as strong as it is here. Here, really, when I look at the beaches, when there were fires, when I first came to Australia, 2019, it was the first
really
summer
bad
of
bushfires.
yeah. And I was like, is that going to happen every year? Was my first thought. But that was my introduction to the country. And I really learned what big part of voluntary service is in Australia. And that was, in fact, what inspired us to start talking about it. I think in the first conversation we had was already in 2023, like, how could we establish that SES? And this is a great model like SES, but it's obviously state-based.
Yeah.
As a state emergency service. So I think what we are trying to do is really keep it national level, federal level, and see how we can work around it. And to be honest, we have been so positively surprised by the positive feedback from big corporates, like who say like, this is good, and maybe an SME can do it, because let's say, imagine a big corporate who would come forward with an idea like that. Everybody would get quite suspicious.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Or if it was the government. Yeah.
Government
And we're
maybe,
like,
but I don't think government is yet ready to be, and it should be an industry initiative.
Yeah.
So it should come from industry. We are super excited about it. And when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, this new career, new life in Australia, that can actually be so rewarding as well when it comes to uplifting the nation as a whole.
I'll go back to when you were a child. I'm interested to know, because you said you were straight out of uni, you went into the diplomacy career. Did you always want to do that? Or when you were a child, what did you want? Like, do many kids wake up thinking they want to be a diplomat one day?
I'm going to tell you a story, and I guess now it can get public if anybody hears about it in Estonia. So I studied economics and trade, international trade. So I sort of thought that's going to be my thing. And as every young person, I tried to get an internship, which is very difficult. So I looked for something similar like to yours, trade, like a government agency that deals with trade promotion. I applied there for an internship. They turned me down. What a loss for them.
I hope you're listening.
I know. I hope you're listening.
And taking notes.
They turned me down. So 1 year before I graduated. And then my mom said, I know the director of HR in the Foreign Affairs. Why don't I talk to her? And I was like, Foreign Affairs, that's close enough to international trade, sort of. And that's how I got my internship, through my mom, knowing the HR director in the ministry. And then I did my internship, which in retrospect was horrible in the sense that I was stuck in the office categorizing WTO World Trade Organization documents into piles for 1 month. But
Were you paid?
no, unpaid.
Oh, that's even worse.
But interestingly enough, I loved it.
Oh, okay.
In the sense that, you know, foreign affairs, diplomats, I'm a bit OCD, so piling papers was not too bad.
Well, it's a very clean office, so...
I think the highlight of the internship was that I got to do one letter, like, I hereby forward you those documents you requested to a member of the parliament. And then I stayed in touch with them, and then I joined them as full-time, as I said, 2 weeks after graduation. So that's what happened.
Yeah,
So
very,
it's
very cool.
not the planned career at all.
Yeah.
But I mean, we talk about this a lot, and also because Annika and I fell into cybersecurity as well. I remember like Louis Kremen listening to him talk about his career as well, about how no one's journey is linear. It's full of, you know, you loop back sometimes and then you go forward, and then it's all just a kind of crazy journey to get to where you are now. And I think it's very common for your life not to pan out, and your career not to pan out how you imagine, right?
I had it all planned out. I was going to be a diplomat until I retire. And being a diplomat is a lifelong career. And I think now that I've sort of pivoted into different country, so from government to an SME, but also to a different career, I wasn't in cyber. So I think whenever I talk about women in cyber or mid-career transitioners, I'm always like, I am it.
Yeah.
I am definitely mid-career transitioner, and I'm a woman. And also on the neurodivergent, my son is on the autism spectrum, and in cyber. So I always feel that element as well, like how you struggle. So all those, whenever I talk about diversity in cyber, which I'm very passionate about, as you both know, I feel I'm the proof as well. I'm not talking a story that I read from a talking point paper.
But it makes a big difference
Yeah.
when someone is very genuine because they lived it, they are it, or someone that is reading from notes. I think we are making steps in diversity in cyber, but we have a long way to go.
There's a lot of talk
Oh, yes.
and not a lot of walk.
Yeah. See, you're an ex-diplomat, and now you said it very bluntly, as Anime has said before. Absolutely. Yeah, that is...
As you said before.
Yeah.
We need to come up with a better word than blunt. Let's say direct. I don't know.
Yeah, direct.
Direct and blunt are kind
Are
of
they?
similar, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Direct, blunt. Well,
Okay.
maybe blunt's a little bit more negative connotation, I think.
Maybe,
but,
yeah. I mean, call it a spade a spade.
Yeah.
Saying how it is. If we walk around in circles around the problem and never actually saying, you know, what the problem is, we're never going to solve it. It's such an interesting transition because did you choose to go into cyber? Was it something that you said, no?
I think I've talked about
You
it.
almost look disgusted.
Yeah, you're like,
No,
like,
it's
ew,
not
cyber.
disgusting, but it was. I remember when I first attended, they organized a career day for us, for the diplomats, for ambassadors. I don't remember.
This is in Estonia?
In
or-
Estonia.
Yeah, okay.
They said, we're going to tell you what cyber is. And obviously we concentrated on the cyber diplomacy, which is basically international law in cyber. And I was there for the whole day, and I was like, it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand. Cyber, I thought, is technical, and all they are saying is like legal stuff. So they didn't put the context. And cyber was super scary for me. I mean, so how I came into cyber was because when I was ambassador, and I've talked about it before at conferences, so I've said I tried to find a topic that was interesting for Australian government. That's what you do as ambassador, as a diplomat. You try to see where the other side says, okay, let's talk. And first I tried digital identity. Not a lot of traction because the discussions were not as mature as they were probably.
Oh, this was your keynote last year at the
I know,
Osaka conference,
yes.
right? Yes, I remember.
This was my thing. And then I tried political affairs, nothing much there because we are so similar, like-minded communities. Our community is so small. And then I was like, when I said cyber, I finally saw some traction in the Australian federal government. And then as any diplomat, you fake it till you make it, which means
Taking notes.
you learn, you kind of practice. And then because you need to sound somewhat like expert when you talk to an Australian counterpart who is obviously in cyber, and you look and you read and you talk to people. I talk to a lot of people in Estonian. And then the more you get into it, the more interested you become. And first, when I was starting to speak at conferences, I was, what's the polite way, really nervous. Because I feel really like I'm not, and I always made an excuse, I'm sorry, I'm not really in cyber. Now I've dropped that. I'm in cyber. I do cyber policy, skills, diversity, cyber reserve. Own it. I mean, that's the thing that I think we need sometimes to tell ourselves.
We do. We are big advocates of that. There is a lot of that. I am not technical. I don't know all this stuff. And I see it both from men and women, actually, in my organization, in the people we speak to. And they think because they're not somewhere in the dark room hacking into the mainframe.
Not talking to anyone.
Yeah, exactly. That they're not technical or they're not part of it. The thing is, we are all actually part of cyber, because all cyber is information that is now transferred and handled in a different method.
Yeah.
And we all need information, and we all create information all the time. That's the significant change, right?
Yeah.
It's hard sometimes because when you're in it, even when you're outside of it, but adjacent to it, and you're looking in, there is still a lot of that. Do you actually have it, you know?
Do you know abbreviation or, you know,
exactly.
something?
Do you know what DNS stands for?
Yeah.
You know, what's the difference between TCP and UDP?
Exactly.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, well, anyone can Google that. You know, but can you tell me about cyber international law?
Yeah.
And I can tell you, not many people can tell you about that.
Yeah. I think when it comes to cyber, now we obviously have a new hype of AI, right? So this morning I was at the breakfast event, and somebody at that breakfast said something that we will forget about AI in a few years because it will become such an integral part of everything.
Yeah.
And then it got me thinking, like, what about cyber? The discussion was around that people are so excited about AI that they don't want to learn anymore so much about cyber or pay attention because it's like boring, while AI is the exciting bit.
AI is the new buzzword.
Yeah, and then there's, of course, quantum at the end of the road. So it's like, and then I always say, like, digital is the first layer, whether it's services, whether it's how you organize your life or whatever. Then cyber is on top of that. And then AI can help you with all of it. You can't just do AI and jump over those two layers that are very important to get things right. So it's almost like the roof becomes more exciting than the house, you know, or choosing the wallpaper is more important than having great foundations. So whenever somebody goes off on AI, I'm like, that's great. But do we have the foundations there? So it's that explanation as well, that we need to keep it exciting at the same time. So people don't go fly off just with AI and quantum and whatever is next thing after quantum.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. I was having a conversation at work once, and I remember we were like even just getting stakeholders in the same room to have a conversation was so difficult. And then when because most projects I've ever been on, the main issue is always communication. It is not the technology. It is not how well are we doing cyber. Like, we don't even get into that conversation yet, because it's like, okay, you guys need to sit down and talk to each other, and we need to like work through this before we even start talking about implementing things. It was funny because we got everyone in the room, and then finally everyone started talking and opening up, and then before you knew it, in a few days, went from like no one wanting to speak to talking about post-quantum cryptography. And I'm like sitting here going, all right, let's just calm down a little bit. Like, maybe if we start with the again, like going back to like the base, let's start with the foundations, then we'll worry about the post-quantum cryptography. But yeah, and it was just so funny because I was like, wow, I was like, see, this is what happens when you actually get people to start talking to each other. I was like, we actually start having conversations, and we actually like deal with the actual root of the problem rather than like trying to focus on the end goal. But yeah, I think like, yeah, it is like definitely going back to getting those foundations right.
Mm.
And there is so much silo when it comes to cyber, especially like in organizations. So I'm more familiar with industry and like big corporations, and they think it's like, okay, we're going to get an IT service, or we're going to get a cyber service, and we're going to silo them in, and they're going to do their thing, and they're going to keep us safe. Doesn't actually work this way, because you need to have not just like diversity in terms of who we are on an individual level. We need to have diversity of actual areas, such as media, such as legal, anything like from procurement to HR. That's such a massive part of it, like workforce and processes. For example, like I work for a company that does anything from construction and digging holes to like consulting to defense. But then if we continue talking about cyber as an isolated area, what happens is we don't get those stakeholders in the room. We are missing on the conversations, and the people around them continue thinking that they're not a part of it.
But I bet you digging holes is also now cyber.
It is. It is, absolutely. Thank you. Sorry, I'm so excited about it.
Yes, no. We get excited about digging holes. But I think that's the thing that, going a little bit back, what we're trying also to achieve with the cyber civilian reserve is that national, and what can we scale, and how we can bring people from different areas together, regardless whether their job is in digging holes or being a pen tester or working for government or working in defense, or good things can happen when you bring those all people together. I think that's and obviously we have conferences where we always talk about collaboration. We have organizations like ISACA, like others. But sometimes it's, again, not enough cooperation, I guess. And working together, but just having a lot of talks.
Yeah, it comes back to what you were saying before about it's easy to talk the talk, but it's a different thing to actually take action.
Yeah.
I mean, we spoke about it in the beginning, I guess, of our podcast, about being in a room full of women, talking about how women are important.
In that echo chamber.
In that echo chamber.
I've listened to your podcast and I'm like, you go, girl, exactly what I'm saying.
Isn't that what's happening as well in the cyber world? I mean, it's amazing that we have ISO, that we have ISACA doing such amazing work, and even like women in cybersecurity and AWSN. But as you said, there is no actual collaboration. Like, we need a conference of so many more people coming together to start that conversation.
And we are hoping, obviously, as I said, this reserve will not fix the world or Australia or anything in that sense. But we're hoping because it will have like a concrete activity, whether exercise or deployment or something. So it takes that cooperation. I mean, if you've been in the cyber exercise with somebody, you are friends for life if it's a real exercise, because you actually, it doesn't matter where you're coming from. And
trauma bonding.
Yeah, it is, because it's stressful and it's you get tired and all of it, and then how you bond. And then obviously you have the win at the end, you get it through it, you achieve something together, and this is a big part of it. And there's no magic solution. We can't do one thing and that, but just trying to find the ways, what can we have as a deliverable? What can we do even for diversity? I've been in so many of those conferences, and we always clap for that one brave man, and we say,
so true.
We always, and then he smiles and nods, and You know, it's all part of that.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily create the change. And even, let's say, our national coordinator, Michelle McInnes, she does so much for the awareness, right? She has all those messages out. I can guarantee you, when you look who follows her on LinkedIn, it is not the grandmas or the grandpas or the general public. It's all the people who think, oh, maybe I should follow her so I get business or contract or something.
Oh,
Well,
100%.
yeah. So sometimes when I see her excellent messages on awareness, or, you know, we just had a Cyber Awareness Month, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good messages, but does it really reach the audience?
Yeah, who you're trying to reach.
Yeah. And what we learned in Estonia, that we almost need to hire those Instagram influencers for that, to get to people.
We're available.
So, yeah. That's why we started our Instagram page, to reach everyday people, not
So
to reach...
everybody out there who has a bit of money, they are available.
Yeah.
We're open for brand sponsorships.
Yes. But all jokes aside, yes, exactly what you were just saying. That's why we started what we're doing, to get to every person.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
So you wait, and you're doing it for free.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think that's the thing, right? You're like, exactly what you're saying. Like, I feel like every time I've seen Michelle McInnes at a conference, I've actually never spoken to her before, but every time I've seen her at a conference, all I've seen is just people wanting photos with her. Like, she's like a cyber celeb, which she is.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it just makes me think, I'm like, you're just taking a photo with her because you want to put on LinkedIn? Like, you know,
Of course.
that's the only reason.
Of course.
And I'm like, I just think, people wanting to be in the same room with certain people because they want something out of them, right? Or they want something to come out of that.
I worked in government for 30 years. I know when somebody approaches me and wants something. And
I know, it's pretty, like, it's not hard to see. Yeah, so I think I just find it quite amusing sometimes when I go to those kinds of events and see, like, because it's just so transparent. Like,
but it's how social media works. It's how, you know,
Yeah.
it is brand. It's, you know, all of that. And when I was transferring from my diplomatic life to a non-diplomatic life, I definitely started to look into that, posting more. It becomes your CV.
oh, and of course, and like,
Yeah.
I do the same thing, right? And like, we obviously also post on LinkedIn, and it has done a lot for our careers and getting exposure. So it's a great tool in LinkedIn. But I think there's obviously also a lot of virtue signaling as well.
Yeah. But I guess what I'm saying is, when you look at the society as a whole, you can't just fix one thing. You can't, like, let's fix government, let's fix critical infrastructure, or obviously the shields from the strategy and all of that go into that. And for me, it starts with school, I think, as for many others. When kids first have an exposure to digital world, that means they should have exposure to cyber world and AI world, which they are, I guess. I have a son who is year 7, and one day he came home and say, we got a task from the teacher. I hope his teachers are not listening. It was so ChatGPT. Like the task that was written.
The task that was given by the teacher?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
wow.
And then we had a whole discussion whether that's okay or not. And I was on the view that that is okay because, for example, in Estonia, we introduced AI to schools exactly for that, how to give teachers and students both the tools that they can use. And it's not cheating. It's using the AI to its best. But it's going back to that cyber awareness. It all starts in early age. When AI was introduced to Estonian schools this September as a thing, then so many people ask me, so it's like a 1-hour lecture per week, or what is it? And then I said, no. It's an integral part of the whole curricula, both for the teachers and for the students. So it's not like we have a digital class or cyber lecture by somebody. It actually goes throughout the whole curricula. And the same needs to happen to cyber. As digging holes is cyber, everything is cyber. So and that's what needs to shift in the society a bit, I think, in Australia. I get carried away, but I think why Estonia is so much more resilient, because necessity. If Russia attacks you every day, then you become more resilient. You need to become more resilient. And you need to introduce cyber to year 2 students because they grow up and they become our cyber resilience. I think it all starts with what's the threat and how we look at the threat in Australia. Is it losing your Qantas customer card? Or is it actually that electricity is off or water is not there? So it's lots.
And Australia is so different from the rest of the world when it comes to threat awareness and us living in a luxurious environment where we are not surrounded by enemies because we are an island. And
Well,
it's
not
so
physically
good.
anyway.
Not physically. And shifting that mindset takes a long time. And I've seen like 2 personas being created around cyber. The persona that was created, I guess, by the international community, the dark figure, the hooded figure that's hacking into the mainframe. And now in Australia, since Optus, I have seen the defense cyber.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the shields.
Shields.
The you know, Michelle McGuinness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uniform.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the government
Taking care
of cyber. Where is the media? Like, where is the in between?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and so we're trying to be these personas that are, okay, you're trying to be this persona, so we are trying to promote that as well. But it does need to happen at a national level, right? But this is what we do in our work, because we are advocating for government and enabling them to take that step, right? It's quite a difficult thing to do. And I wouldn't say like that Australians don't care. I think that we do care, and we care about our country, we care about our safety, and quite a lot. But it's also like the role that the media plays as well, and what they actually post, what they actually write about when it comes to cybersecurity. And there is a big difference between like being aware of the threat and knowing it's coming to being scared. And the only like thing that's happening is like, oh my God, like I'm either terrified of it or I don't care.
Yeah, because if you're scared, then you often cannot act.
That's right.
So and we need to act.
Yeah.
When you talk about the media, it kind of reminded me of how the media has been talking about the Louvre heist, because obviously the first stories that started coming out were the fact that the jewels were stolen, and that it was done in broad daylight, and it was done at like 9:30 in the morning. So it wasn't even done in the middle of the night. And then after that, then all these stories started coming out about the fact that their passwords to their CCTV cameras was Louvre. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I get that obviously password to your CCTV camera shouldn't be just the name of your building. But also,
that wasn't true, was it?
I don't know.
I think that was just a meme.
Who knows? I feel like I don't know. I've seen a lot of articles now to the point where I'm like, maybe it is true.
Because when I saw it, I was like, ha moment.
No, I think
So it was actually
I think it actually is true.
Everything that I know points to me to actually this probably was true.
I mean, I could believe it. So
I could definitely believe it.
But the thing that annoyed me was I was like, the fact that their password to their CCTV camera doesn't have anything to do with the fact that the jewels were stolen. Like, I was like, their CCTV cameras had nothing to do with the people sneaking in on like one of those, what do you even call it? The thing that they went up on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that has nothing to do with the fact they stole the jewels.
Did they hack into it?
No, there was no hacking involved. That's why I was like, these stories are unrelated. But now everyone's like, oh, the password was Louvre. And I'm like, okay, but I was like, these are 2 separate stories. Like, the issue isn't the fact that, like, they're unrelated, right?
Yeah.
So I just think, again, it just goes like, oh, everyone's going to pick up on this news story because already there's media coming through because of the jewels being stolen.
But I think there's also another element. We were talking about media, but I find companies here who are attacked, they are much less eager to talk about it than, for example, companies in Estonia. Because of the litigations and the legal proceedings and all the rest of it. And the lawyers probably tell them, shush, don't say anything. Yeah. And because we come from a different environment, talking about your attack is such a big part of resilience. Because you are talking about, this is what's happened, this is what I did. And there are elements of it. Some people are talking about to the extent, or maybe they do it much later. But because of that legal and the the liabilities and,
reputation.
We are equally, reputation is equally important to us. I think what makes us different is the legal, the courts, how it takes time, I think, I'm not a legal expert at all, but I've talked to a company who was under attack and I said, would you be willing to come to a panel and talk about it? And they were like, are you out of your minds? Our lawyers would I would be fired tomorrow because we cannot talk about it for X number of years. And another company who was attacked, and I approached them for something that I looked into whether they could support something, which is cyber education, and because they were under attack. And then they said we would never support anything related to cyber because then people would think that we are again talking about cyber, while I was trying to go for a different angle, like you had this attack, this was a little bit public. Don't you want to kind of show that now you're doing your bit to actually build? But it's that risk of averseness and kind of let's be super careful, and that's a pity because we don't learn from each other.
Yeah, it's the same with scams too, right?
Yeah.
I've talked about this a lot. Yeah, that people are very, and it's not just in Australia, but people are very embarrassed and ashamed when they get scammed. So, but if people talked about it more, then people would know, oh, this happened to that person that I know. Now I need to be more aware of when I get a weird text message or when I go and check my emails and get a weird email from someone claiming to be from my bank or from the ATO or whoever. We don't have that culture where people openly talk about these things that are happening to them.
Yeah. And again, it's the media that also either picks it up or doesn't pick it up.
Yeah.
Like maybe like news media, obviously there is the social media that can pick up on it more. And it's cultural. I love criminology. I researched a lot about victimology in cyber. And my first essay I ever wrote about victims of cyber was about Optus.
Oh, okay.
And Optus being a victim. Mm-hmm. And they said, oh, it's very controversial, don't you think? I said, well, they were attacked.
I agree.
They were attacked.
Yeah.
They were scrutinized pretty badly. And we can talk later about whether they deserve it or not. But it's like they were still a victim. And before Optus happened, nobody received such massive attention towards it in Australia. So they were the scapegoat. And everyone was like, Optus, they're so bad. And how could they let it happen? And of course, even this is your first scenario. When you see somebody being stoned on the street, you're like, I'm not ever going to do that, right? And I think there was a little bit of like a backwalking afterwards with Medibank and trying to push the blame onto the outside factors like our evil. And with Latitude, it was like way more quiet as well. But again, like you see Qantas happening, and again, it's like the same thing. We love to not just blame the victims, but we would love to say that the victims deserved it because it makes us feel that the world is just, that the world is fair.
It's a tricky issue. Like I think somebody discussed it similarly. Like let's say there's a shop of diamonds, and somebody robs them, and they lose their diamonds. And obviously everybody thinks it's a huge loss. I mean, and it's a victim, but they own the diamonds. Or somebody owns them, or they are insured, or you can get them back and nothing really happens really bad because diamonds were at somebody else's hand for a while. While with data, it's a bit different. It's not necessarily their data, It's they are, if they would lose their, let's say, financial statements for last 10 years, we wouldn't care. We don't care if a company loses something that belongs to them. We care if they lose something that belongs to us. Yeah. That we have given to them. And that is the difference between, I guess, when a diamond shop is robbed and when you get the data back, there is no use because somebody has had look at it, made a copy of it, etc. So I totally agree, and I'm in the sense that we should also we should have this victim angle as well. Yeah. But then again, they say, but we need to know our customer, required by law. And Australia, by the way, doesn't have digital identity where we could only do a check that you are you, because government, by the way, hasn't developed it fast enough. Again, a story from Estonia where we have digital identity and you could do that check without keeping all that data. There's no simple this is good, this is bad, you are wrong, you are right. Yeah. It's so nuanced. I totally agree. We have to have different angles, like a victim angle, and not only say, Optus bad, good. You know, sometimes they say, follow the bouncing ball. We almost need to do the reverse. Yeah. Like, whatever the ball he's anyway. I'm not going to do
I
that.
get it. I get
But
it.
kind of the
Yeah.
other way, like
Don't go with the flow. Maybe
Yeah.
we need to go against the stream for
yeah,
once.
they kind of they have this. They need your driving license or address because this is required by now the customer. Why is it required, etc., etc. So, I think sometimes it's so easy to just say, oh, let's find them. Let's have a Senate, what it's called, the Senate inquiry. Let's just deal with it, or let's have a royal commission or whatever is done, and then we kind of like,
Royal Commission.
Yeah.
and then it's like we fix the problem. Why actually you could follow the bouncing ball all the way back. Like, what's the actually root cause? And
Yeah. Well,
So-
as you said, digital, cyber, AI, right?
I
We
know.
haven't even got into digital.
There's
level.
no digital.
Yeah.
Oh, there is. Sorry,
Well, I mean, there is.
apologies,
Yeah.
but it's not working well.
Well, yeah. So if the plumbing in your house is broken, you can't be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get like a brand new couch if you can't go to the bathroom, right? Like, get your priorities sorted. You're right about digital identity. I read about Estonia. I wanted to ask you about this because you have online elections. Is that correct?
Correct. I think we're
It's
the only
incredible.
country in the
only
world.
country in the world. Yeah.
Wow.
That's
The
amazing.
only country.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last year.
For your ID card system, there was a breach that happened in 2017, right?
There's been a lot of things, and I was actually involved in that committee that dealt with that breach because I was the head of the consular service, and it wasn't an actual breach. It was a very clear way of showing that there can be a breach.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't an actual breach. It was the group of academics who demonstrated that this can be breached.
Oh, okay. So
And-
they were almost like pen testing the system?
Almost, yeah, almost.
Unintentionally.
Yes,
Okay.
and academics.
Theoretical contesting.
Yeah, and academics, and I always bring this example. I was really involved in this because of my role as a head of the consular service, because we issue ID cards to everybody in the world, and some of them needed to be changed. So, but I think this is an excellent example of praising my own government in the sense that they used that crisis really well. They put together a sort of committee, basically pretty much the first night. It went to main news channel every night, like 9 o'clock. This is the update. This is what we know. This is what we don't know. And we will come back to you in 24 hours. And everybody was like, okay, we are good. The government is dealing. Instead of like, shh.
Yeah. Instead of like, don't say anything.
Don't say anything. And that's basic crisis communication.
Yeah.
You don't have the answers, but you go out there and you say, we've done this, we don't know this, and we come back with an update in 7 o'clock, a.m., whatever. And this actually ended up raising the trust of Estonians in our ID system, because they saw, okay, things can happen.
Yeah.
And this is how government deals with it. Okay. So whenever I talk about digital trust, I always bring that as how you can build trust through crisis. But yeah, coming back to election, sometimes people are like, how come this is possible and this is... But again, Estonia didn't invent this overnight. This happened over 25 years almost. So it's a long journey, and a lot of things happened during that journey. We started that journey in the early 90s when we became a fresh country again, back from the Soviet Union in 1991. No money, a lot of corruption, because any transitioning country has corruption. And then we were thinking, okay, let's do it in computers. Because let's just create something digital, because you can't queue at the computer, and it's probably cheaper than having Services Australia offices in every little village. Plus, Estonians don't like to talk to other people, so we always prefer
I
an
was going to say,
email.
is that why you moved your elections online? Because I feel like
think
in
so.
Australia, the only reason some people even like to vote is so they can get their democracy snag. Like, otherwise you'd have no
don't-
reason to leave the house.
Well, I think a lot of first-time voters still go and vote in person,
Okay.
because then it's an important milestone in their life.
Is it compulsory in Estonia?
No, it's not.
Okay.
And it's interesting, whenever I talk about compulsory ID card, that is sort of technically is compulsory. And Australians say like, no, this could never work in Australia. We could never have compulsory ID card. And I'm like, you have compulsory elections.
Yeah.
If that would be
You get
introduced in
fined if you
Estonia,
don't vote.
I know, in Estonia, it could never work. this is my democratic right to actually decide if I go and vote or not. So it comes something that is part of the society you don't question. We don't question obligatory, mandatory ID card because we love it. It gives us good access to services. And, even for me, easy to vote from Australia. I just do it in 3 minutes. But I think we are still the only country who does it. And it's been contested a number of times, often by the parties who lose. Go figure. That's an interesting coincidence.
But they will contest every time. It doesn't matter if it's paper, if it's
Should
if
we
it's
go
digital.
back to not this US election, but the one before? No, we shouldn't.
Well, pretty much so. Yes, and in many countries, right?
Yeah.
They contest them, but it's fascinating. I think, but the numbers would have increased when you would have introduced online.
Oh, 100. You mean for the elections?
Yeah.
The highest number we had electronic voting was 51%. So we reached that magic more than 50%. I think last parliamentary election it was, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously when it started, I guess it started by 10%. So people just let's try it out.
And you have a very small population. It's like 1 point something million.
1.3.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, it is small.
So that's I feel like that's much more manageable as well.
But wouldn't you think it even gives you more economics of scale when you have a bigger country? And again, I don't buy this argument of small is easier. Like take India, who introduced digital identity fairly well. I don't even know the population of India, but it's
like
definitely,
1.3 billion or something.
It's definitely larger
second
than
biggest.
Australia.
Yeah.
So Australia would have so much more to gain from. I mean, Australia as such is not a big country, and with the state and federal, Australia would have so much more to gain, or so much to win, if the digital identity would be part of the, the state identities, the federal MyGov identity. They would all work like a magically interacted system where you don't even notice if you talk to the state, if you talk to the government, if you talk to an industry. You need a service. That's it. You don't need to know whether it's your local council, whether it's the state government, or whether but now I go into utopia, I think.
No, but it is. I mean, yes, and we need to dream, right, to know what success looks like and to know what good looks like. I love Estonian examples because, just doing it so well, and it's like, okay, well, we have a goal of somewhere that we can be or we want to be. But the whole thing about data and what you said before with the digital identity, we cannot fix the fact that data breaches can happen and will happen and how harmful it will be. We can work on the likelihood of it happening by having certain measures in place and teaching our population and so on and creating resilience within. But a very simple way to reduce the consequence of this happening is take the data out. If you don't need to put the data in, if you don't need as much information in, so much less risk of it being stolen. For this particular scenario, we're talking about data breaches and so on. It's hard to implement, and a lot of people need to sit in a room and talk and agree. That's the only way to reduce that consequence, the severe consequence of what is actually going to happen, because it's going to happen no matter what you do, right?
And one of the things that I'm super sort of passionate about is data integrity, and almost that concept that even every digital copy needs to have a home, or even every digital copy needs to have one original copy. And that's how Estonia is built, in the sense that, let's take address, for example, which is on my driving license. I give it to so many people, my address, even just to do simple things. Like, why does Qantas need my address? Do they send me a car to pick me up to the airport?
Do they?
I wish, but no.
Actually, that's funny you mention that, because they literally sent me a letter the other day.
Oh, on
So
paper?
No, I got upgraded to a better...
On paper?
Yes.
On your mailbox?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
maybe you get an actual card.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yes,
I got
they
a
need.
physical
Yeah.
card,
Okay,
yeah.
I'll take that back.
But it can be an opt-in service.
It could, but I'll take that back.
Yeah.
I understand. Well, for physical card, they need your address.
Yeah.
My address in Australia lives in so many different places in Australian government agencies. I'm pretty sure that tax office has my address. I'm pretty sure Services Australia or Health or Medicare has my address. So because there's no one population registry as far as I know, so my address doesn't have a home, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yep.
While it's my address, it should have a home, but it's mine. It's my address. I should own it. But then the way Estonia's digital architecture is built, each data has a home. Let's say address has a home at population registry, and if tax office needs to check, for example, if I'm a resident of certain area, their system goes and, I need to check if Kersti lives in Tallinn, which is the capital. Yeah. And then the computer goes like, yes.
It queries it.
Yeah, it queries it.
But it doesn't keep the data.
No.
It just gives me the data of yes, no, maybe.
So it knows like, yes, I sort of meet condition for that tax, whatever, exemption or whatever. And that's what makes data management much better, because then you're only responsible for keeping your house in order, you know? And you create a system how we can visit other houses and not leave a mess behind. We cannot get too excited about quantum and all of this once. We need to do the boring stuff, which is get the service right. And good things are happening on digital identity, I think. And many people don't like digital identity. It doesn't have a good reputation. But when they actually have a service that is useful, easy, they will like it. Well, driving licenses, you can...
The app is so good.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in New South Wales and I was in a bottle shop and I went to go pay, and the guy behind the counter said, can I see your ID? And because I hadn't been asked for ID for ages,
You were happy.
I was like, but I don't have my ID on me. And then he goes, is it on your phone? Like, you can show me on your phone. I had a photo of my driver's license, but it wasn't in the app because I wasn't a New South Wales resident. So I showed him a photo of my ID. He's like, no, I meant like your New South Wales ID. And I said, I'm not from New South Wales. And he's like, He goes, well, I can't actually accept that. And I'm going, I was like, why doesn't every state and territory have that?
And you know, it happened because one person had the vision. And that person was one of my favorite persons.
Yeah, what's his name?
Victor Dominel.
Yeah.
One person can do it when they have a vision.
Yeah. Yep.
And the question is, who is that person on federal level?
Yeah, exactly. Well, there isn't one.
No, I don't know. I don't know one. Do you know one?
I'm still a diplomat.
Okay. Pick it too.
But you need that one. For us, for Estonia, it was the president of Estonia.
Wow, that makes a difference.
Yes, because he got excited at the time by building this digital and talking about it to the world. So it takes that somebody.
Yeah. I used to work in local politics, so every time I have people coming to me from like Labour or Liberals, and they're trying to convince me to vote one way or the other, I'm like, so do you have anyone who really cares about cybersecurity or like digital identity?
What's the answer?
They do not expect that.
They're like runs off.
And I was like, look, when I see someone like in the Canberra local government and in the federal government that talks about digital identity, that talks about cybersecurity with the same passion as we do in bringing up the population, I will be their biggest fan.
Another call for the
100%. 100%.
New politicians coming forward.
No, absolutely. And they are very important. They play such an important part. But it's about getting excited, right? Yeah. And getting everyone else excited. I mean, first of all, like, this is not coming from criticizing Australia. We always have the same issues. It's always like the housing policy, it's always climate change, and it's good that we're talking about climate change, and it's always some controversial division in terms of diversity. Let's be controversial about cyber. Let's be controversial about digital identity, but let's put it on a discussion. So we are talking about
with the digital identity and digital society as such, you could actually tackle one of those problems, because let's say I need a service and I need to actually go into a office building. I need to take time off work because those buildings are not open outside. They're not often open outside office hours. And if my boss says this is your leave or this is not paid, then it's actually cost of living question.
It is.
Or domestic violence has cyber and digital. So I think it's not like somebody saying, I tell you to get digital identity because I'm the big brother. But it's actually looking at that, how can this help you? You don't need to go and leave your work to go to Services Australia or Access Canberra or something. You can actually do that online. And some of it is online and people love it. I think with Access Canberra, you can renew your registration and license online. Who would go to Access Canberra and line up there if you can do it online?
I don't know. Last time I had an ACT license was when I was like 20, so I did go to the building, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah, but we actually, and we do like when something is easy for us, and we can. And online is such a big part of the world. And I often get asked, like, what about elderly people? Are they left behind? And I always give an example of my father, who is now 85. And I tell that he's very good at using digital identity, both for signatures and authentication, because he started really young when he was 75. So it's, you know.
Also, if you only allow people to go in physically, like my dad, for example, can't physically go into a building.
Exactly.
So
That's
he
another.
has to do it online.
Exactly.
He doesn't have any option to physically go into a building.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I see now that my dad is 85.
Yeah.
He actually, maybe before he didn't mind like doing all those things, but now his mobility is less.
Yeah.
And he knows them, and who taught him, that was me.
Yeah.
Because that's how the society worked, that we taught the younger people when I was younger, then I was taught, and then our mom said like, oh, I need to go to that office, and I'm like, Mom, let me show you. No. And then they trust their children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily trust maybe a video showing how to use digital ID.
Yes.
But when your own child tells you,
Yeah.
Mom or Dad, this is okay, this is the best way to teach them.
Yeah.
Yes. I just wanted to mention one thing, because we have a huge problem in Australia about violence against women. It's been addressed in some levels. It's not being addressed on a digital level. This is an untapped opportunity left on the table for us to tackle.
And there are programs that look into that already.
Yeah.
They're just small, and probably it will not solve, you use the word solve, but it will play a part.
Yeah, absolutely. It will play another part, that both like the digital security, but also the lack of digital identity are both factors that need to be tackled in order for us to contribute to solving the bigger problem. But myself, I went through like the divorce process late last year and this year. And I remember it was late last year. And I had to go to the court system. And the court system, believe it or not, like they have a portal, you can do quite a lot of things online, but to actually get your divorce paper signed, you have to go into the court and you have to line up and you have to do it during the workday. And I know so many people that went through domestic violence situation where this is dangerous.
Because they would meet with that partner who was...
Yeah, they would potentially meet with this partner. Their partner could potentially know where they are and so on. And I was thinking to myself, this is so inefficient. Why am I here on a Wednesday at 12 p.m. and not working? And also, like the person who was there, you know, signing the document, he didn't want to be there either.
No, they never do.
No. In fact, like he was pretty sick. I think he was diabetic, and he was like, I'm so sorry, I need to go and eat.
Well, so no one else on the desk.
Well, he was quite elderly. He was quite elderly.
What a sad job. You signed divorce papers.
Depressing.
Yeah, I mean, he's sitting there. He's obviously, he's an expert in everything, and he makes sure that everything is in order. But this definitely can be done online. All of this verification.
Just a fact, do you know what was the last service that was brought online in Estonia, like a government service?
No.
Divorce.
Ah, okay.
That was the last service that was brought online. And there are several reasons for it, but I guess the idea is that you don't want, you have a fight with your partner and then you're just like...
We're getting divorced right now.
And done.
Yeah, and done. So I think that's part of it, but it's definitely when you get married, you are happy to go to that office, so have a party or something. And when you get divorced,
I get married online, easy. Yeah,
well, I have to say, I don't see so many social media posts of divorces. We're breaking up.
Imagine like the wedding industry crashing completely if like weddings could be done online overnight. No, but of course people want to have a party, and people don't post about it, and it's a taboo topic still.
But on a serious note, there's so much, both on the cyber and digital side, that could be done to help the vulnerable communities or vulnerable groups, whether it's domestic violence or, indigenous groups as well, the access to service, the remote areas. There's like so many things, but it's not that we can just switch it out. Let's change the culture. Yeah. You need to do like little steps, and then one day we wake up and we're like, oh, it works.
Well, I think that's a good place to end it. Well, thank you so much, Kersti, for coming on the podcast today. And thank you for letting us sit in your office as well.
Thank you for coming to our humble office, and Now you're part of the Medical Scope group, fan group.
Yeah, exactly. You got some merch for us to take home? Or what?
We can see what we can do.
Yeah, brand ambassadors, are you looking for?
Yeah.
We
we can do some reels for you.
We're always looking for people who understand what we are trying to do, whether it's diversity in cyber, whether it's that cyber civilian reserve, and kind of come to us on that journey
Yeah.
in whatever form, or even you doing the podcast with me is that journey. We can never do it alone. It would be, totally not doable. So we need everybody, including the two of you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you everyone else for tuning into this episode of Lost in Siberia.
And we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, cool.
All right, wow, okay.
We were very chatty.
That was so interesting. Wow.
We're on a Friday afternoon, and then you don't have to rush off.